The breaking point. The crystalline spires of New Geneva sparkled under Earth's autumn sun, their surfaces reflecting the last vestiges of humanity's illusion of freedom. High Commissioner Lyra Vathek of the Galactic Concordat stood at the observation deck of her diplomatic vessel, her iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to violet as she contemplated the primitive species below. The humans had accomplished too much too quickly. Their rapid ascension from planetary civilization to interstellar power had taken mere decades, while other species required centuries. Madam Commissioner, the Human Security Council is ready to receive us, her aide, Trell, announced, multiple eye stalks bobbing nervously. They suspect nothing of today's true purpose. Vathek's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Excellent. The containment fields. In position around Earth and all 17 human colonies. We await only your signal. The delegation shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, carrying what the humans believed to be a routine diplomatic mission. After all, humanity had been model citizens of the galactic community since their admission 15 years ago. They'd followed regulations, shared technology, and established profitable trade routes. Yet their meteoric rise troubled the ancient powers of the Concordat. Humans were simply too unpredictable. In the Grand Chamber of the Human Security Council, Director Sarah Chen watched the alien delegation approach. 20 years of diplomatic service had honed her instincts, and something felt wrong. The Concordat representatives moved with unusual rigidity, their typical flowing grace replaced by militant precision. Director Chen, Vathek's translator, conveyed her words in perfect English. We bring grave concerns from the Concordat Assembly. Sarah straightened in her chair, noting how the alien guards had positioned themselves near the chamber's exits. Concerns? Our latest technology sharing reports were submitted ahead of schedule. All colonial expansion has remained within agreed-upon boundaries. That is precisely the problem. Vathek's scales shifted to a deep crimson. Your species advances too rapidly. Your colonial expansion, while technically legal, progresses at an alarming rate. The Concordat has concluded that humanity represents an unprecedented threat to galactic stability. The chamber's screens flickered to life, displaying a real-time feed of massive alien vessels materializing around Earth. Similar scenes played out at every human colony world. Before anyone could react, shimming barriers of energy began forming between the ships, creating an interconnected web of containment fields. By order of the Galactic Concordat, Vathek announced, Earth and all human territories are hereby placed under quarantine. Your ships will be confined to your systems. Your colonies will be isolated. This is not a punishment, but a necessary preventive measure. Sarah's hands gripped her chair's armrests, knuckles white. This is an act of war, Commissioner. This is an act of preservation, Director. Your species requires guidance, time to mature properly. In a few centuries, perhaps. You don't understand what you're doing, Sarah interrupted, her voice steady despite the rage building inside her. Humanity didn't spread across the stars because we were ready. We did it because we had no choice. Earth was dying. We had to adapt, to innovate, to survive. By caging us, you're not containing a threat. You're guaranteeing one. Vathek's translator remained silent for a moment, processing the human's words. Your threats are meaningless, Director. The containment field technology is beyond your current scientific understanding. Every human vessel, colony, and installation is now isolated. Accept this with dignity, and the transition will be peaceful. As alarms blared across Earth's defense network, Sarah Chen stood slowly, her dark eyes fixed on the alien commissioner. You believe you understand humanity because you've studied our history, our technology, our diplomatic protocols. But you've missed something fundamental about our species, Commissioner. Do you know what happens when you corner an intelligent predator? Vathek's scales rippled with dismissive amusement. You overestimate your position, Director. Your species is contained. Your options are exhausted. Sarah smiled, but there was no warmth in it. No, Commissioner. Our options are just beginning. Humanity didn't become a spacefaring civilization by accepting limitations. We did it by breaking them. As she spoke, hidden quantum transmitters buried in military installations across Earth activated, sending untraceable signals to every human colony and ship. Years of contingency planning, initiated the moment humanity realized the Concordat might view them as a threat, were now in motion. In underground bases and secret laboratories, projects developed behind layers of deception and misdirection sprang to life. The Concordat thought they were containing a primitive species still learning to navigate the stars. Instead, they had just declared war on a civilization that had spent every moment since reaching space preparing for this exact scenario. The quarantine of humanity had begun, but unlike the Concordat's other guided species, Earth had no intention of accepting its cage. In laboratories and military bases across human space, men and women looked at their communication devices, saw the emergency signals, and smiled. The real work was about to begin. Shadows of defiance. Deep beneath the Mongolian steppes, Dr. Maya Patel stood before a holographic representation of what could be humanity's salvation. The massive underground facility, known only as Project Prometheus, had been built years before first contact, originally designed to research theoretical physics. Now it served a far more urgent purpose. Run Quantum Simulation Series Theta 9 again, Maya commanded, her fingers dancing through the holographic interface. Around her, a team of Earth's brightest minds watched as subatomic particles performed an impossible dance. 3 months into the quarantine, and they were close. So close to cracking the fundamental laws that governed the Concordat's containment fields. Dr. Patel, a young physicist, called out, "We're detecting quantum entanglement patterns that don't match any known model. The particles aren't just moving through the test barrier. They're acting like it doesn't exist at all." Maya's dark eyes narrowed as she studied the data. The Concordat's barrier technology operated on principles they thought humanity couldn't comprehend. But they'd made a crucial mistake. They'd assumed human physics was limited to what they'd shared during first contact. They never imagined that Earth had been researching quantum mechanics from an entirely different perspective. "Send the results to Lunar Base Alpha," Maya ordered. "Dr. Yuki needs to see this immediately." On the dark side of the moon, Dr. Hideo Yuki received the transmission in a facility that officially didn't exist. The lunar base had been humanity's first major off-world installation, but its true purpose remained hidden even from most of Earth's government. Here, surrounded by vacuum and silence, humanity had been preparing for war since before they knew their enemy. "Remarkable," Hideo murmured, studying Maya's findings. They built their entire defensive technology around quantum string theory, but they never considered membrane dynamics. He turned to his team, excitement breaking through his usually stoic demeanor. "Begin production on the prototype, full scale." Across the quarantine zone, humanity maintained an appearance of defeated compliance. Concordat observers reported only routine activities, mining operations, internal trade, civilian traffic between Earth and its colonies. The alien watchers noted with satisfaction how human ships carefully avoided approaching the containment barriers, how their communications remained restricted to approved channels. They didn't see the quantum encrypted messages passing through subspace, coordinating a resistance that spanned every human world. They didn't detect the new facilities being constructed in asteroid belts and beneath planetary crusts, shielded by technology that didn't officially exist. On Mars Colony 3, Governor Alexandra Santos reviewed the latest intelligence reports in her underground command center. The Concordat's peacekeeping forces maintained a visible presence in orbit, their ships a constant reminder of humanity's supposed submission. But beneath the red planet's surface, something extraordinary was taking shape. Status report on Operation Ghost. She asked her military advisor, Colonel Chen Wei. The first batch of ships is complete. Wei responded, bringing up a secured hologram. Quantum masked drives, gravity manipulation systems, unlike anything the Concordat has encountered. They can't track what they can't detect, and they can't detect what they don't understand. Alexandra studied the sleek vessels, marveling at how far human engineering had come. In high orbit above Earth, Vathek's flagship maintained its vigilant watch. The High Commissioner reviewed the latest observation reports with satisfaction. Human activity remained within expected parameters, their resistance limited to ineffective diplomatic protests. Soon, they would accept their place in the proper order of things. A junior analyst approached, mandibles twitching nervously. "Commissioner, we've detected some unusual energy readings from their lunar facility." Vathek dismissed the concern with a wave of her scaled hand. Their primitive fusion reactors often produce irregular signatures. Continue monitoring, but there's no cause for alarm. Humans lack the theoretical framework to challenge our containment technology. As if in response to her words, in an underground lab in Geneva, Maya Patel made the final adjustments to a device that would prove just how wrong that assumption was. The quantum resonance chamber hummed to life, its core containing energies that the Concordat's sensors registered as merely background radiation. "Send word to all facilities," she instructed her team. "Project Prometheus enters final phase in 72 hours. Across human space, hidden resistance cells received the message and began their preparations. The Concordat had meant to teach humanity its place in the galaxy. Instead, they were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating a species that had evolved on a death world, survived multiple near extinctions, and reached the stars through sheer determination. The quarantine's end was approaching, but it wouldn't come through diplomatic channels or peaceful negotiation. It would come in a way that would remind the galaxy why humanity's history was written not by those who sought to cage them, but by those who dared to break free. The silent web. In the crowded markets of New Singapore Station, Commander Diana Reyes moved through the throng of alien merchants and Concordat peacekeepers, just another face in the vast human diaspora now trapped within their own systems. Her cybernetic eye, indistinguishable from a natural one, captured everything: guard rotations, security protocols, the subtle weaknesses in what the Concordat considered an impenetrable fortress. Package secured, she vocalized the quantum encrypted message traveling through channels the aliens couldn't detect. Beneath her civilian clothes, the data crystal containing vital intelligence felt warm against her skin. The Concordat had established New Singapore Station as their primary oversight facility for Earth's sector, converting humanity's largest space station into their command center. They thought it was a show of dominance. Instead, they'd handed the Resistance their greatest intelligence asset. Deep within the asteroid belt, Admiral James Chen received Diana's transmission in a holoplanetoid that had been transformed into a secret command center. The Strategic Operations Center, nicknamed the Hive, coordinated resistance activities across all human territories. Another piece falls into place, he murmured, updating the massive holographic display showing the position of every Concordat vessel, every patrol route, every supposed security measure. 5 months of patient intelligence gathering had created a map of unprecedented detail. "Sir, is XO?" Captain Sarah Mitchell approached with a secured tablet. Dr. Patel's team has completed the quantum disruptor tests. All colonies report ready status for Phase 1. James studied the latest reports, his expression revealing nothing. The Concordat's overconfidence had been their greatest gift to humanity. They'd assumed that controlling space meant controlling the species. They'd never considered that humans had been preparing for this possibility since before first contact. On Mars, in a facility carved into Olympus Mons, General Maria Santiago surveyed her troops, the first of Earth's new armies. Their powered armor wasn't the clunky, obvious machinery the Concordat knew about. These suits were products of hybrid technology, combining stolen alien tech with human innovations in ways their oppressors had never imagined. "The latest batch of quantum-maced ships is ready," her chief engineer reported. "The Concordat's sensors will register them as nothing more than space debris." Maria nodded, watching as soldiers loaded specialized weapons designed to bypass alien shields. "And the colonial forces?" "All 17 colonies report combat-ready status. The mining outposts have completed their conversions into forward bases. Even the deep space research stations are armed and waiting." In orbit around Jupiter, Dr. Yuki's team had transformed Europa Base into something that would have given the Concordat nightmares if they'd known it existed. The ice-covered moon's interior now housed a vast manufacturing complex, producing weapons and ships that defied conventional physics. "The quantum network is stable," his chief technician reported. "We can coordinate simultaneous strikes across the entire quarantine zone without detection." Hideo allowed himself a small smile. The Concordat thought they understood human technology, but they'd never grasped how differently Earth's scientists thought. While alien civilizations had developed their technology through careful methodical steps, humanity had leaped forward through intuitive bounds and desperate innovation. Back on Earth, in the rebuilt United Nations complex in Geneva, Director Chen met with the Shadow Council, leaders of the resistance chosen from every major human settlement. The meeting room's quantum shielding ensured absolute privacy. "All pieces are in position," she announced, bringing up a holographic display of their master plan. "Maya's quantum disruptors are ready for mass deployment. The Ghost Fleet stands prepared. Our agents have infiltrated every major Concordat installation in human space." Admiral Chen's hologram nodded. "The Hive has mapped every patrol route, every response protocol. We know their playbook better than they do." "And the colonists?" General Santiago asked. "Every human settlement has its resistance cell," Diana Reyes reported from New Singapore. "The Concordat thinks they're watching defeated refugees. They're actually surrounded by soldiers waiting for the signal." Director Chen studied the faces of humanity's hidden leaders. "The Concordat believes they've contained us, that we're learning our place in their ordered galaxy. In 3 days, we'll show them what happens when you try to cage a species that cross the stars not through invitation, but through necessity." In her lab beneath Mongolia, Maya Patel made the final adjustments to the quantum disruptor network. The devices seemed simple, small, unassuming boxes that the Concordat's sensors registered as routine communication equipment. But when activated, they would tear holes in the fabric of space-time itself. "All stations report ready," her assistant announced. "The network is complete." Maya took a deep breath, thinking of all the preparation, all the sacrifice that had led to this moment. The Concordat had meant to teach humanity humility. Instead, they were about to learn why Earth's history was filled with stories of imprisoned heroes breaking free. In high orbit, Commissioner Vathek reviewed another satisfactory report about human compliance. The occasional protests had died down. The humans seemed to be accepting their confinement with appropriate resignation. She never noticed the quantum fluctuations rippling through subspace, never detected the ghost ships moving into position, never suspected that every human-crewed vessel on station in her territory was preparing for coordinated action. The quarantine of humanity was about to end, not with submission, but with an uprising that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what humans were capable of when pushed too far. 3 days. 72 hours until Operation Prometheus would show the Concordat why Earth's children had survived every catastrophe their deadly homeworld had thrown at them. Why humanity's rise to the stars hadn't been a gift, it had been an escape. And why trying to contain such a species was the greatest mistake the galaxy could have made. Checkmate. 0 hour arrived with the silence of quantum mechanics. At precisely 300 Earth Standard Time, Dr. Maya Patel activated the Global Disruptor Network with a single command. Across human space, reality flickered. The Concordat's mighty containment barriers, their supposedly impenetrable quantum fields, simply ceased to exist. Not through brute force or conventional attack. The fields had been undone at their most fundamental level, their very existence denied by human-engineered physics. In her flagship above Earth, Commissioner Vathek experienced the first moments of humanity's response as a cascade of impossibilities. First, the containment field sensors went dark. Then, the emergency backups failed. Finally, our tactical officer screamed. Multiple contacts, appearing everywhere, impossible energy signatures. There inside our defense perimeter. The Ghost Fleet, humanity's hidden armada, materialized simultaneously across all of human space. Ships that shouldn't exist, running on principles the Concordat had never imagined, emerged from quantum shadows. Their designs were unlike anything in the galaxy, predatory, aggressive, uniquely human. Admiral Chen's voice thundered across all frequencies, broadcast in perfect Concordat standard. This is the Human Defense Force. Your containment of our species ends now. From New Singapore Station, Commander Reyes triggered the hidden protocols that had been embedded in the station's systems for months. Security barriers collapsed. Communication arrays redirected. In moments, the Concordat's primary command center in human space became their prison. The resistance cells on every human world activated simultaneously. Colonial administrators, who had appeared broken and compliant, revealed themselves as military leaders. Hidden arsenals opened. Quantum-masked weapons that bypassed alien shields turned the peacekeepers' superior technology into a liability. On Mars, General Santiago's forces emerged from underground bases in powered armor that made them look like avenging angels. Their weapons, hybrid creations of human ingenuity, and reversed engineered alien tech, cut through Concordat defenses like paper. All colonies reporting successful operations. Captain Mitchell announced in the Hive, Concordat forces are contained or neutralized across 87% of human space. The aliens' response was predictable. They called for reinforcements. But when their quantum communications reached out, they found only silence. Dr. Yuki's team had seeded the quantum pathways with microscopic disruptions, isolating the battlefield according to humanity's terms. Vathek watched in horror as her mighty fleet was systematically dismantled by weapons that shouldn't exist, ships that couldn't exist, and tactics that defied conventional space warfare. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were revolutionizing combat itself. Impossible, she whispered as another cruiser vanished, quantum-phased torpedoes bypassing its shields completely. They were contained, monitored. How? The answer came from Director Chen herself, transmitted directly to Vathek's command deck. "You caged a species that evolved hiding from predators, Commissioner. Did you really think we'd show you everything we could do?" New dawn. The Battle of Earth lasted less than 6 hours. When it ended, the galaxy's power structure had been irrevocably changed. The Concordat's mighty containment fleet hung powerless in space, their weapons disabled, their communications cut off, their reality turned against them. In Geneva, the Shadow Council met openly for the first time. Director Chen faced Commissioner Vathek across a table that symbolized humanity's new position, equal, unbound, and impossible to ignore. "The quarantine ends today," Chen stated simply. "Earth and its colonies will be recognized as a sovereign territory, free from Concordat oversight." Vathek, her scales a pale grey of defeat, struggled to comprehend the magnitude of her civilization's miscalculation. How? Our technology was superior. Our understanding of quantum physics was linear, Dr. Patel interrupted, entering the chamber. "You advanced step by step, building on established principles. Humanity, we jumped tracks. When conventional physics couldn't get us to the stars fast enough, we looked for shortcuts. When standard technology wouldn't protect us, we invented new sciences. Your containment field showed us exactly how your quantum technology worked," Dr. Yuki added. "You gave us the blueprint for your limitations." The terms of humanity's emergence were non-negotiable. The Concordat would withdraw from human space. Trade would resume, but on equal terms. And most importantly, humanity's right to develop its own path among the stars would be absolute. "You should understand something," Admiral Chen told the assembled alien leadership. "We didn't develop these technologies because we wanted to fight. We developed them because we refused to be limited. Earth taught us that survival often means breaking rules that everyone else thinks are unbreakable." In the days that followed, the galaxy struggled to understand the implications of what had happened. Humanity hadn't just broken free, they had demonstrated levels of technological advancement that should have been impossible. The quantum ghost ships, the phase-shifted weapons, the reality-bending defenses, all developed in secret while appearing to be safely contained. 1 month after what became known as the Liberation, Director Chen stood in the new human embassy on the Concordat's capital world. The building's architecture was distinctly Terran, vertical, ambitious, reaching forever upward. "They're still trying to understand how we did it," Admiral Chen commented, watching alien ships navigate carefully around human vessels in orbit. "They never will," Maya replied. "Not completely. They keep looking for the one big secret, the single breakthrough that let us break free. When the real secret was that we never stopped breaking boundaries," Santiago added. "Every solution, every innovation, came from refusing to accept limitations." In orbit above Earth, a new generation of ships took shape in public shipyards. Their designs incorporated everything humanity had learned, both in technology and philosophy. They were ships built not for war or containment, but for exploration, humanity's true destiny among the stars. The quarantine had been meant to contain humanity until they learned to fit into the galaxy's carefully ordered hierarchy. Instead, it had proven why humans could never be contained. A species that had climbed from caves to the stars, that had survived extinction-level events and their own destructive tendencies, would never accept a cage, no matter how gilded or how vast. As Earth's sun set on the new era, director Chen looked out over the changed skyline of Geneva. The Concordat's watchtowers were gone, replaced by humanity's own guardians. But more importantly, the stars above were no longer a barrier or a boundary. They were, as they had always been to humanity, a challenge, an invitation, a promise. The galaxy had tried to teach humanity its place. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson about the power of necessity, the strength of innovation, and the impossibility of containing a species that had evolved breaking barriers. The stars stretched out before them, endless and open, and humanity, finally unleashed, was ready to show the galaxy what they could really do.